Hi and welcome back, and today we're filming from the Black Mountains in South Wales near the Brecon Beacons on a wonderful May day. As you can see, the summer's coming, not to Wales yet though. So what I'm going to be talking about today then is planning and preparation for a day out on the hills. Before you even set off, there's a few things you need to think about before you even start packing your bag. First thing is actually making a plan. So a lot of people actually get out to the hills, whether that's the Peak District, Lake District, Brecon Beacons, whatever, and they haven't even made a plan. They're just thinking they're going to drive to a car park and start walking up the hills. So make a plan, think about your route, make sure you know what route you're going to be taking, you've planned it on a map, that sort of stuff. Falling out of that then, you're going to have an estimation of how far and how long you're going to be going, yeah? So let your next of kin, your wife, your husband, you know, your mum, your dad, let them know how long you're expecting to be out for, and let them know the route you're taking. Because if you are out, especially if you're in a bit more of a remote area, even in the UK, if you're in a bit of a remote area, if you get lost, if you have an incident, get injured or something, at least they know what route you're on, or supposed route that you're going to be on. So if they need to call the emergency services, they can let them know where you're expected to be. Next thing is, obviously you need to make sure that you're capable of actually partaking in the route you're going on, and you're better off obviously erring on the safe side if you're not too confident of where you're going, whether that's navigation or fitness. And also you're better off going with other people. If you go on your own, then you're only increasing your risk when you go out. And the last thing is check the Met. Okay, so check the Met conditions. There's loads of apps out there. I use the Met Office one, but there's loads out there, and make sure you're happy and you're prepared for the weather conditions, and potentially change your plans or even cancel your plans if the Met is looking particularly bad. As I've said, this is the 3rd of May today, and it's 4 degrees and it's peeing down with rain all day, so it's not what you expect on a sort of spring/summer day. So talking about the clothing that you're going to be wearing when you're out in the hills, and the sort of contents of your clothing, pockets and stuff like that. So personally, I like wearing a cap. Okay, everyone's different. I like wearing a cap when I'm out on the hills. When it's hot, it keeps the sun out your eyes and off your head. When it's raining, it keeps the rain out your eyes and off your head as well. Obviously, if it's blowing a gale, you might need to hang on to it a little bit because the brim can catch the wind. But I think it's a good sort of all-round thing. Some people wear woolly hat. I get overheated really quickly in a woolly hat, so I don't like wearing them unless I stop. So I have one in my bag for when I stop, when I sort of cool down. Going down then, underneath my jacket and underneath all my clothing, I've got a base layer. So this is like a technical top that's going to wick away the sweat and the moisture, and then when it gets wet, it kind of dries out fairly quickly. And it's important to have something like that rather than a cotton t-shirt, because cotton is just going to hold the wetness against your back, and you know when you do stop, when you start cooling down, you'll cool down really quickly, you know, and you're going to get really cold. On a day like today, what I've also got is a really lightweight fleece. So a really lightweight fleece layer. This is a Rab one. Don't go for anything too thick. Don't go for any sort of heavy jackets or underneath there, because as soon as you set off, you're going to overheat really quickly if you're going uphill. And you probably are going to be going uphill if you're in the hills. But yeah, just wear something fairly light. And when you do set off, really you want to be a little bit cold when you set off, because you're going to warm up. Over the top of that then, I would normally wear just a lightweight windproof jacket. Today I'm wearing a waterproof because it is forecast to be raining all day, so I've just gone straight into my waterproof jacket. If I wasn't wearing this, if I was wearing a windproof jacket, this would be in my bag, and it'd be right at the top of the bag, ready to pull out straight away. This is a Rab Kinetic jacket, so even though it's a waterproof one, it's kind of more like a soft shell. It's got a very soft feel to it, so it's good for all-round use. In the pockets then, what I've got on the right-hand side, I've got my phone, and the phone is in a waterproof case. So that's just a Locksack waterproof case there. If you are carrying your phone, you need to make sure it's waterproofed, especially if the forecast is to be wet. In the top left inside pocket, what I've got is my compass, silver compass. You can see that's attached on there. This is a survival item, so if you don't have it attached to you and it gets blown out your hands, or you drop it or something like that, then you're pretty much up ship creek, so you need to have that attached to your body. On the left hand side then, and I've showed this in previous videos, I've got what I call my admin line. Okay, so I've got a lighter in an attached sleeve, I've got a Swiss Army knife, I've got a secondary light torch, because my primary is my head torch, which is in my bag, and I've got a whistle. And again, that's attached to my jacket, so it can't be lost. It's just permanently fixed. Okay, going down from there then, trousers, basically comfortable pair of walking trousers. Make sure that they fit you and you've got good movement in them so that you can, you know, take those big steps as you're going up hills. You don't want something that's going to be tight and restricting your movement. And in my left pocket, what I always carry is a map. And this is where I normally carry my map. My left pocket, again, it's attached on. Reason being is your map can quite easily be blown out your hands if it's a really, really windy day up on the hills. If it is, it'll probably disappear off the side of a mountain and you'll probably never see it again. As you can see, I've got the map within an Ortlieb map case. Really good map cases these. This is the only type I use. Nice and flexible. They don't crack when you fold them. And they're 100% waterproof. You could wade through a river with this in your pocket up to your waist, and this will still be usable and 100% waterproofed, and you know, dry on the other side. So that goes in my left hand pocket there. And again, what I choose with trousers is pockets that are big enough to put maps in. Going down from there then, what I've got is my boots. So these are Aku Pilgrim boots. They're the high leg version. I've done a video on these. Really decent boots, Gore-Tex. There's pros and cons to wearing Gore-Tex. I won't go into that now, but what you need is something that's going to give you decent support and also that's got good grip on the bottom. Okay, so when you're moving up and down the hills, you've got good support, good grip. So that's the clothing and stuff covered there. All I'll talk about now then is a couple of ancillary items. So gloves, obviously it's a really good idea to have gloves when you're out on the hills, otherwise your extremities like your fingers are going to get cold really quickly. These are a pair of sealskin gloves, decent pair, waterproof as well, and I always carry at least one other pair in my day sack as well as a backup. Then I've got a neck gaiter here. This is one from Decathlon. It was fairly cheap and it's made out of merino wool, so it's nice and comfortable against your skin. And these things fold up super duper small as well, so you can get that in your pocket dead easy. Just stuff it away if you're overheating when you're wearing it. But when the wind does get up, you're on top of the hills, then that thing wrapped around your face and maybe over your ears and stuff is a real lifesaver. It really does make your life a lot more comfortable. Okay, the pack then. When you're out walking for the day, you don't need to carry shed loads of gear, but what you do need to do is kind of cater for the worst case scenario. So that worst case could be you've got lost, the weather's turned nasty when you don't expect it to be, you've potentially got an injury or someone that is with you has got an injury, okay? So catering for that sort of thing, emergencies and all that. I see a lot of people walking on the hills and all they're carrying is what's in their pockets or maybe a carrier bag with a sandwich in. That's not enough, okay? As anyone will tell you that's spent much time on the hills, the weather can change really, really quickly when you're up there. It could be sunny in the car park, an hour later it could be hammering down with rain, and if you haven't got the appropriate kit, then you're going to have a bad day. So, personally, I think a bag of around about 30 litres, which is what this is a Savata Jacari medium. Something about 30 litres is the right sort of size. So you've got enough space in there and you've probably got a little bit of spare if you need to take a jacket off and something like that as well. Okay, in the top lid then of the bag, basically you can open this up and it can be accessed from the inside or the outside. So what I'm going to do, what I've got in here is just the smaller items and things that you need as in emergency. So a head torch, definitely. Always carry a head torch whether you're planning to be out at night time or not. Because if you are out at night time, this thing is literally a lifesaver, okay? And because you mount it on your head, your hand's free, so if you're scrambling up and down rocks, then that is an ideal thing to have. Another real important thing is a multi-tool, so a Leverman, for obvious reasons. It's got all sorts of blades and stuff on it, so really handy. You may not think you might not use it, but it's one of those things that you always wish you had if you don't. Okay, I've got a small waterproof bag, then again another Ortlieb bag, and in this I've got two spare lighters, one there, 2 lots of toilet paper, and I've got 6 AAA batteries, and they're the type that are used in the head torch and my secondary torch as well. Spoon, obviously, you can't eat without a spoon. Then I've got an emergency blanket for emergencies, obviously, if you have someone that's gone hypothermic. I've got couple of little chewy bars for snacks. I've got some water purification tablets in case you need to start taking on water from sources that you come across. Got a small Ziploc sealable bag for rubbish, because as we know, we don't leave anything out when we're walking on the hills. And then I've just got a glow stick, a Cylum glow stick. You know, that's quite handy as another light source, or for signalling if you're in trouble, okay? And all that just fits in the top pouch of the day sack there. They're just the smaller items and kind of emergency, quick to get to items. Side pouches then, I've added these on even though this is big enough without the side pouches. I like to have access to a couple of other things quickly. Primary one is your first aid kit. So that's really handy, you just open it up and it's right there. You don't have to mess around going into the main pack. Alongside that I also keep a battery charger for my mobile phone, because as we all know, those phones will just lose power really quickly when you're out in the hills when you need them the most. So I carry a little power pack there for my phone with the associated lead. And on this side, all I've got is some emergency rations and a brew mug. So when you're out there and you make a brew, this will keep your brew hot for hours and hours. It's a great bit of kit, perfect for when you're out in the hills. And as we all know, a nice hot cup of coffee when you're out there when it's freezing cold and the wind's blowing is such a morale booster. Opening up the main pack then, first thing I come across is a little dry bag here, and in here I've got all my gloves, hats and stuff like that. So I've got a woolly hat in there. I've actually got 2 spare pair of gloves in here, and another sort of merino lightweight woolly hat as well. Then what I've got is the main bag inside. So this is another waterproof bag, and these are really important to have to waterproof your kit with, okay? If you don't have one of these, all your nice stuff in here to make your life better when you're on the hills is going to get wet if it is hammering down with rain. And I always pack my stuff in these regardless of whether it's forecast to be raining or not. First thing I'm going to pull out of here then is a cooker. So I've got a cook set there with a big canister of gas. I've got an MSR pocket rocket and a cooking pot, so I can cook my rations and stuff, make a brew. And then I've got my actual rations here. Now what I've got is, there's enough there for just about for 24 hours. So I've got a couple of boil in the bags, a decent brew kit, and emergency Tabasco, which is obviously super important. And the reason why they're at the top there is because that's, you know, a relatively heavy bit of kit within the bag, so it's best to keep the weight at the top of your bag. Okay, next thing out of here then is my warm jacket. So I've got a nice Rab down jacket there, which obviously once you stop, if you stop for an hour or so to have lunch, then that's a bit of a lifesaver if it's freezing cold. Obviously you put that underneath your waterproof jacket. Then what I've got is a spare t-shirt just in case you get absolutely soaking. It's always best to change your top if you get immersed, if you fall in a river or something. So it's handy to have that, and it doesn't weigh much at all. And then a spare pair of socks and some foot powder. Obviously the only thing that's missing out of all this is what I'm wearing, this jacket here. So if it wasn't raining when I set off, my waterproof jacket would be at the very top of all this. And the last thing in the bag then is a bladder. So I've got a Camelback bladder there with 2 litres of water, with the hose routed over my shoulder so I can drink when I'm on the move. And that's all the gear there. That's everything that I need for quite a decent long day out on the hills. So that's just a quick run through of some preparation and planning and kit prep for a day out on the hills. Obviously I'm not planning to stay out overnight. This is literally just for a day out. And the contents in that bag there, the whole bag just weighs just over 20 pounds. And that's including, you know, 2 litres of water and enough food for 24 hours. So if anyone's got any great ideas about stuff that they carry, if anybody does anything differently, put them in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And I'm just off now for a few Ks out on the hills. Catch you again soon.